friends, and from the approximately 40 interviews I conducted during the planning and writing of the book. Unless otherwise identified, all the stories, including the personal ones, are constructed in a manner that conceals identities and ensures privacy. The individuals depicted are generally composites of 2 or more men, and the stories are told with fictional details and events to further disguise identity. Confidentiality for therapy patients is particularly important, and the stories of those in therapy are never drawn from a single individual, but from a number of men who shared similar issues and life experience. All identifying information has been changed by fictionalizing names, specific family backgrounds, ages, occupations, dates, and locations. Berkeley, 2018. Introduction. Many years ago, Will came to see me for therapy to help him come out as gay. He was a retired dentist, and he wasn't 19 or 29 or even 49. Why now, was my obvious first question, and his answer was succinct. I was waiting for my wife to die, and she had. Will told me he had loved, but had never been in love with her, that they had been best friends for 5 decades. Now, he wanted to talk about the life he had neglected, for he had never had an experience with another man. Before I die, I would like to be in love, and I have known forever, that could only happen with a man. Will was sweet, gentle, and likable, but he had a touch of the unfocused, empty stare of a person who was starving and had suffered. He was starving emotionally, and even as he energetically outlined new possibilities for his life, I could feel his hopelessness hanging in the air between us. As I listened to his story, I hoped I was not mirroring back that hopelessness, but I was certainly feeling it. And I was feeling helpless, for I had seen many men reconstruct their lives for the better, but had never seen that transformation begin at the age of 74. How could I help a man who had put nearly his entire life, put himself, on hold for almost a lifetime? Then I thought, if Will had only 5 or 10 years left to find a new life and live as Will, the effort would be worth it. He was intelligent, he had access to his feelings, and he was certainly motivated, and for now I would simply sit and listen. The central task would be to help him find some self-acceptance, by allowing him to be himself and be heard. He had not yet forgiven himself for being gay, and he had not forgiven himself for having lived as if he were not gay. I was a coward, and I lived like one. I sometimes hate myself for that, he said, at our first meeting. Born in 1923 into a religious Arkansas family, being gay seemed impossible, too frightening to even consider. Instead, he decided on a life with Emily, his best high school friend, whom he loved and respected. Emily had always known that Will was complex, that he lived in some kind of perpetual sadness, but they had never even broached the idea of his being gay, and she never understood what his sadness was about. Will was loving and kind, and he was funny, and Emily simply accepted him. It was as if they had decided on a life together, but on opposite banks of a shared river they both cherished. With Emily now gone, Will badly needed to reveal himself to someone, which for now would be me. As I looked at him sitting in the chair, I tried to think hopefully that he might find a boyfriend and have some years of the life he should always have had. The terrible outcome was that 2 months into our work, Will was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and 4 months later he died in the ICU at Sutter Hospital. He asked me to visit him there, which I did several times. We sat mostly in silence, but my presence was clearly meaningful to him, for I had become his internal companion, the first person who knew Will as Will. On my last visit, which would be the last 15 minutes of his life, he asked me to hold his hand. As his breathing changed, I realized he was dying and gripped his hand more firmly. With his other hand, he waved a goodbye and smiled faintly, and I thought I heard him say,